Welcome to Blonde Cards and Crafts. Let's make something together. This is our first card for our 10 cards, 1 kit, and we're starting with a 5x7 scalloped edge ready-made card, and I have a green piece of the specialty card that was in the kit, and I've cut that at 6.5 by 4.5, and along each edge I'm using 2 different peel-offs. One on the top and bottom is the thickest peel-off, and on each side is the thinner peel-offs. I'm using some double-sided tape behind those, and then what I'm going to do is take off the release paper and use my Stick It roller tape. I'm going to adhere that to the black matted layer, and then I'm going to take the cut apart piece, Remember, and it's outlined in gold. It's like a gold foil, and I'm going to put that in the middle of the card more or less with some of the beautiful gold glittered flowers. I'm deciding what sentiment I'm going to use for this. I wanted to have with sympathy, and I have a die that I got. I don't remember where it's from, but I'll try and find a link for it. And I'm going to use some of the pearl pink coloured paper that came in the kit. So I'm going to put some 3M foam tape behind my main sentiment, Remember, and I'm going to adhere that down to my card. But first I'm going to pop out the With Sympathy die, and I'm not going to fit it properly onto the green piece of paper, so I'm going to cut the width away from the sympathy, and then I'm going to adhere that onto the card. So of all my pieces, basically what I want for this card, I'm going to stick down the Remember focal point. I'm going to take my hot glue and adhere my flowers. I've put 2 big flowers and 2 smaller flowers on this card, and I like to use the hot glue because I find they really adhere well. Now what you can see on my table is a piece of parchment paper or greaseproof paper, and when I remember I would put a sentiment down on that and then use my glue pen. I find that any glue that I miss, because my sight is pretty poor, it'll go on the greaseproof paper and not onto my table. So I have that stuck down now, and I'm pretty happy with the placement and everything. And we're going to focus on the inside of the card, and I'm going to stamp onto the card itself inside. I'm using my Tonic Studios Tim Holtz stamping platform, and I'm going to pick out my stamp, and it's the Hugs and Kisses stamp. I love this. I think it's a lovely stamp, and it's stamped really well. I'm very pleased with it. So now I want to put a piece at the bottom of this card. I like to put similar layers to what's on the front of the card on the inside. Christy Marcotte does this a lot with her cards, and from the first time I seen her do that, I've just really taken that on myself. I think it finishes the card, and it kind of, it brings the inside and the outside together. And also this little bit of layering put inside gives a bit of weight to the card inside, so it's not all front heavy with all my layers and everything, and it helps the card to sit and balance better. So I've got this thick double-sided tape. You'll see me use it a lot throughout the video. I've seen Desiree use the really fat one that I'm using here on Include a Thank You, and I found that Cork Art Supplies do have that, so I got it from them. So that's my first card. So now we're going to move on to the second card, and this again is a 5x7 scalloped edged ready-made card, and I'm layering some of the aqua green or teal, I don't know what that color is called, but we're going to mat that on some black card, and we're going to put that on our card base. Then onto that I'm going to take a mat of black and I'm going to cut out 4 of the 2x2 sentiment squares, and I'm going to stick that down onto my front layer. Now I've also cut out In Loving Memory 2x2 square, I've rounded off the corners and I've put 3M foam tape behind that, and I'm going to put that there to give a little raised area. I've taken some of the peel-offs, I've taken the widest one and the middle-sized one, and I'm putting them across the top part of the card. I'm going to press down on them to make sure that they're adhered, and I'm going to take my peach coloured net bow and I'm going to use a hot glue gun to put that down, as well as a little black bow from the ribbon we got in the kit. So now I want to embellish the card, and there are some lovely gold gems in the kit that we got, and I'm going to put 4 up the top, 2 on either side of the ribbon, and then I'm going to sprinkle some on the lower part of the card, 1 in the dandelion, 1 at the bottom of A Lifetime of Love and Memories, 1 in the In Loving Memory, and 2 actually on the square with the big heart. I've chosen my sentiments for inside. I've chosen the With Love and a Prayers and Hug stamp that I had in my stash. I'm going to season the With Love stamp with some Versamark and then with my Memento. But I picked out a white Versamark and not my clear Versamark. So this is a great way to season your stamp and get a better stamping with a new stamp. It does help, but it's also good to have a Memento pen. Now I've decided to put a peel off inside, and that's going to run vertically down the card, and I've used again a middle-sized peel off for that. And that's my second card. So now we're on to our third card, and it's a 5x7 easel card. I've taken a card blank and I have scored it 2.5 inches in. So there's a score line at 2.5 inches and at 5 inches. Now I'm also going to cut some of this cream card that came in our kit, and I'm going to cut that down to fit on the pop-up easel part, and that piece is 3 3/4 by 7, and I'm going to cut all the layers then for each piece. So now I'm going to take this black card paper, and it's got like I don't know, a starry night sky, and I'm going to mat it on the cream card, and I really like the look of this, the black with the cream. And I put a piece of white card inside in the middle with another strip, an offcut of that black starry night paper. So I've all my bits and pieces got now. I'm going to put some of my double-sided, very strong adhesive tape on each piece, and they'll be ready for me to stick down together. Now the sentiment I'm going to put inside, that's going to be again the Prayers and Hugs and With Love. I'm going to stamp that on the bottom part of the white cardstock going inside. I'm using my Memento pen just to fill in any parts that haven't stamped properly. I'm going to put the layers now onto the easel part of the card, starting with the cream piece and then the black night sky piece, and I'm layering that in with about 1/4 inch all around. I'm going to take the Remember sticker and pop out all the little pieces that need to be popped out and put that on the easel pop-up part. I'm going to try and center it down the middle and get it straight, but it's a handwritten look, so a little bit off up and down won't matter. I'm taking a couple of the little sentiment stickers here as well, and I'm going to pop them on. This is Forever, and this one is Treasured Memories. So it'll read Treasured Memories, Remember Forever. I'm taking some of the linen colored or the creamy colored hearts, 3 of those, and popping them on there too. I'm going to take another black heart and the cream colored heart and put that on my piece of paper with my sentiment. So I'm going to stick that down and put another scrap piece of the black Starry Night Sky on there, and then put this all into my card. So now I just need something that will hold the easel part up when the card is set on a mantelpiece or a table or a shelf. And I've chosen the big heart. It's a black one with a white polka dot and a blue flower. I've put some of my embossing buddy powder on that, and then I've stuck my 3M tape on it. I'm going to put that over just beside where the hugs is, but I'm going to need something on the left hand side as well. So I've taken another little black heart and done the same thing that I did to the bigger heart. I'm going to use my embossing buddy powder and some 3M foam tape and put that over to the left hand side, so that when my easel card is open, they'll prop behind those. So now I've taken some cream and the black paper and I've put that on the back of where the easel is going to sit, and I'm going to put some of my very strong tape down so that my easel piece is going to be stuck down firmly, but only in the lower half, so that when I open it up, it'll stand up. And here's some of those pictures of the finished card. So now we're moving on to our 4th card, and I have another 5x7. This is a gatefold ready-made card. I've got all my mats and layers done. I've die cut out my swan head with the surrounding wreath. That's done in a gold glitter card. I'm going to stamp my sentiment, which is going to go inside, and that's sending prayers for you. And I'm going to put that matted and layered on the inside of the card. But first I'm going to put my focal point, which has the swan in the wreath. I'm going to stick that down onto some black matte card, and I'm going to trim the top and bottom of that with the smallest of the peel-offs. Now I'm going to take my inside matted layer and I'm going to put some strong tape on that. Run out, so I'll need a new one. And I'm going to put that down, and I'm going to peel off the top on both sides so I can sit my sentiment nicely inside. Now I've got my layers for each of the sides of the gate, and I'm using that big long black and white sticker. I'm going to pop that on the top and on the bottom, and that way it'll give us a nice finish to these matted layers. The little bit that's left over I'm going to put inside, and because it wouldn't reach the whole way, I'm going to take that 3 flowers sticker and put that on over it. So let's finish our main sentiment in the middle outside and put down our With and Sympathy. And we'll put some sticky tape on the back of the gatefold layers and stick them down as well. Lovely. Now we'll adhere our With and our Sympathy, and we'll use some of our Nuvo Glue for that. We'll try and get it nice and centered and even on our focal point. I love this gold glitter paper, but I have to say it's not easy for using with the die machine. So it took ages to pop all the little bits out from the wreath around the swan head. Now I've taken this little, it's a black and white polka dot large love heart, and I'm going to use my little punch to punch out smaller hearts, and these I feel will kind of match with what's going on. I've put a little mark on the back of that piece there so I'll know how far my tape needs to go over. I don't want to end up sticking it down to both sides, just one. So I'm going to rub that off with my rubber or eraser. I'm going to pop down my little hearts, decide where I want them before I stick them down. And I'm also going to use one of the tiny little hearts that the little die flower, it pops out little hearts, and I'm going to put one on either side of the width and one above the P in the sympathy. I'm also going to put one inside beside the sending prayers. I'm also going to use two of the die cut little flowers and put them in the middle of the card, either side of the swan. Stick them down. And that's that card. Card number 4. I love this. I think it's different. I know it's not your typical, you know, sympathy cards, but I think they're grand. So I'm happy with that. Here's some images of the card. So now we're going to move on to our 5th card, and this is the Thinking of You, or my dandelion card. I have all my pieces more or less ready to go, and I've used some of the offcuts pieces of card, and I'm going to use those for the inside of the card. So this is a 6x6 card, I don't think I mentioned that, and it's a cream colored card this time. I'm using a gold mirror card as well as a cream pattern card that came in the kit, and this large Thinking of You cut apart. I was going to use a doily, but I went against it. I'm going to take some of my 3M foam tape so I can raise that piece up. Now I'm going to put a matted layer down the left hand side, and it'll go from top to bottom, and this one is 2.5 by 5.5 in length. That's the gold, and the cream piece is 5.5 in length, and it's 2.25 in width. I'm going to take some of the peel offs and put them across the bottom and the top and down the length of it as well. They're the big peel offs at the top and the skinny ones at the bottom. And as I said, that piece is 5.5 by 2.5. Now we're going to take our main piece, which is the mirror card, is 5.75 by 5.75, and the black love heart is the black paper with the gold love hearts. That's 5.5 by 5.5. So inside we've put our strip, and first of all I'm going to put my main layers onto the front of the card, and I have that down nicely, and now I'm going to put my tape onto the left side matted layer. I'm going to stick that down. I'm trying to get it straight, that's why I'm only taking the release paper off so much of the way. And now we have our raised main piece. We've that stuck down as well. I like the idea of putting some flowers on, but I didn't want to do it the same as the first one, so I ran them down the length on the matted layer. So I picked 3 of the big flowers and 2 of the small ones, and I have my glue gun plugged in and heating up there. Now I'm going to take my stamping platform. No, I'm not. I'm going to first glue down my glitter gold flowers. I put one at the top and one at the bottom, then I put one in the middle, then I'm going to put one of each of the smaller ones, and I felt that kind of helped me to get them, you know, spaced apart correctly. Now I'm going to take my stamping platform. I'm going to put my card inside, and the front part is hanging over on the outside of it, which makes it easier to stamp. I've put the hugs and kisses stamp in there. Was able to stamp a couple of times using my platform. Now I'm deciding how I'm going to embellish the card. I have some gold hearts that I punched out using my little pink punch. I've also got the little die of the flower that punches out little hearts, and I'm putting that through my Gemini Go with some gold paper, and I'm looking at fussy cutting out some of the little hearts from that piece of paper, the black one with the gold hearts, but I didn't really like that. I much preferred the little hearts that came out of that die. So I put that through twice. I put all my little hearts over there, and I'm going to adhere them to the card. So using my glue pen, my quickie glue pen, I'm going to put 2 above the hugs to the left, and I'm going to put 3 below the kisses to the right. It kind of looks like they're falling from the sky. Sprinkling of hugs and kisses. And then on the outside, I'm also going to put some. So I'm just debating using my little quickie glue gun where I'm going to put some hearts. So there's one there at the top left of where the little dandelion head is. I'm going to put one there beside the T in thinking. I'm going to put one on the outside layer where the little heart is. And I'm going to stick them down using my jewel pick tool. Pop them all down in there. I think I really should have fast forwarded this, but I wanted to slow it down so you could see and have a good look at the card itself. So now we'll speed things back up and we'll finish embellishing the card with our little hearts. I've also taken my Spectrum Noir sparkle pen, and I've coloured in the head and the floating wishes, and that's our card. Now we're moving on to card number 6, and this is a 5x7 craft card that I'm using. I call this my Copper Swan card. So inside I have a white piece of cardstock, and I'm going to stick that down. I'm going to put a little layer here of the copper card and the paper on the inside, and I'm going to stamp down my sentiment again using the Versamark before I stamp in the Memento ink. I've stamped the You Are Loved on a scrap piece of paper a couple of times just to make sure that it's going to stamp nicely, and it does. I'm very happy with that. I have punched out some little butterflies in the copper card. I have a little punch there, and I'm going to put 3 of them on the inside. Now on the outside I have my copper matte layer, and that is 4 3/4 by 6 3/4, and then I have my piece of paper on top of that. And I've also taken a doily and my die cut swan image. I've die cut that out in black, in white and in the copper, and I have layered them down. I've cut out 3 of the reeds in the copper as well. I'm going to glue them down using my Nuvo Glue, and I'm going to cut that 3rd little one off at the bottom so that it's a little bit lower than the one it's beside. I've taken the Thinking of You. This is a die I have in my stash, and I have cut this out, die cut it in 2 layers of black and 1 of the copper, and I'm going to stick them down above the doily. I've taken another of the butterflies and stuck that down beside the U, and the little wings aren't stuck down, it's just the center part, and I've popped 3 of them on the card. And then I've taken some of the sequins and put them dotted all around. Don't those little blue circles look like the pad off a lily? That's what inspired me for this card. I've put some of the sequins, actually all of the sequins are in this little bowl, and I got that, it's a pack of 5 ashtrays that I used, and I put some Spectrum Noir pen on the white part of the swan, and that's that card finished. So now we're on card number 7, and I have my main matte and layer ready there on my 5x7 card. I'm going to put a strip down the left hand side. I've used a strip of the paper which looks like triangles, colored triangles. I'm going to put that on a piece of black cardstock, and I'm going to put some of the peel-offs either side of that paper. Now I've taken the Praying for You in Your Time of Sorrow cut apart, and I've matted that onto a black piece of card, and I'm going to stick down some 3M foam tape so that'll be raised up. These layers I'm going to stick down using my strong adhesive tape, and they are 4 3/4 by 6 3/4, and then 4 1/2 by 6 1/2. I'm going to put my little piece to the left there, and I've die cut out a scalloped circle and a standard circle, and I'm going to put 2 little sticker hearts on there. So I'm kind of thinking, what am I going to do on the right hand corner? And I thought, you know what, I haven't used the Nuvo drops, and these are in caramel cream. I thought what I'm going to do is I'm going to embellish the card using those and a ribbon. So I'm popping 3 of them at the top right hand corner, 2 on the raised praying for you piece, 2 in the hearts, the round scalloped hearts, and 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 along the left hand piece. Now I gave them a good tap, and because I then thought, well, I haven't done anything on the inside, I very carefully put 3 of the diamond shaped stickers and the gone but never forgotten. And here's some images of the card. Now I'm moving on to card number 8, and I've lost the videoing of this. I don't know if I didn't push record properly, but I had the card made and went to press stop and realized it never recorded. So I'm going to talk you through this card. It's again a 5 by 7 white scalloped card. I have done a layer using the green card that came in the kit. That's 5 1/2 by 6 1/2. Then I've used the lovely flowery paper, and that's 5 1/4, 4 1/4 by 6 1/4. I've used some dies from my stash, and they're a banner die, and using that I've cut out a little frame, and that's going to be my shaker part. Here's the dies. I think I got these from AliExpress, guys. I'm going to try and find the link for it, but these 2 are going to make my frame for my piece of my shaker card, and the piece that came out inside, I'm going to put that inside and layer a smaller one in white. My swan is the die that came in the kit with the heart. I cut it out of the paper, and then the heart part I flipped around. I die cut out the swan in black card as well, so I could use the piece for the bill, and the little tiny bits from the sequins I used to pop in where the eye is, a black one. And yeah, that's the back side of the heart paper that I used, so it gave a little difference there for the heart, which would be the wing. Now I also used some 3M foam tape. What I do is I take off a length of the tape, I cut it to the size I want. I'm sure you've all seen this. I fold my tape over on itself, and I push it down on itself the whole way along, making sure it's nice and even along the sides. Once I've done that, I can cut my foam tape to whatever thickness I want. So I could cut it in half, so it's, you know, only half the width, or in 3, I can get 3 lengths out of it. Now I know Darice and I think Stamping Up do a nice thin thick foam that you can use, but here in Ireland it's very hard to get stuff like that. So I just use my 3M foam tape, and I buy this big mama roll from Lizi's website, and it's brilliant, and it, you know, it's the best cost around that I've checked out. So I have these lovely thin strips. They're going to go underneath the little frame that I have, and that's going to raise it up so I can put my sequins in there. I've used a piece of acetate, and I've used my red tape to adhere that all down, and then behind that I've put some of that grey paper with the white hearts that I cut the swan out of. Don't forget to use your powder bag or your embossing powder tool so that your sequins don't stick to the foam inside. You need to run that all around the edge of the foam. Now here I have Gemini set of 4 dies, and I've used the happy birthday out of this. It cuts out the happy birthday and it also cuts around a background, but I just used the happy birthday itself and I stuck it down. I've also punched out a couple of little hearts using my little punch here, and I've stuck them around the front and on the inside. I've used the For You with Love stamps that came from the stamp set in the kit, and I've also put a little banner piece down at the bottom with some hearts. And that is basically, that's my shaker card, guys. I'm sorry you didn't get to see me go through it all and make it, but yeah, that's it. And it shakes really great. I don't know if you can hear it. It's lovely and free in there. So I'm very hard with that. So I'm very happy with that. So here's some images of that card. I hope you like it. So now we're moving on to our 9th card, and this is a slider card. It's 6 by 6 3/4, and I'm going to cut my slider using my trimmer. It's coming in 1 inch, and it's 1 inch from the top and 1 inch from the bottom. You can see here. I'm going to mark it. I need a little lip at the bottom of the slider part of 1/4 inch. I need a score line there. I need a score line in the middle and a score line at the end. You can see here where I'm scoring those. So with my folds, this is going to be our slider part. This is the part that we're going to pull out, and it's going to reveal our sentiment. And I use the sentiment, I love you to the moon and back. So I made a few mistakes with this card. It's turned out great, but I could have done it better. I'm going to attach my slider piece, and the slider piece is 4.5 by 5 3/4, and it gets attached to the little 1/4 inch piece at the bottom there. I've cut it a little bit longer than 5 3/4, so I needed to take 1/4 inch off that. I'm going to run some of my red tape along the sides and 2 pieces across the bottom. I'm going to remove the release paper after I've pressed it down, and then I can adhere my back piece to it. Now I cut out a notch so I can pull my slider up and down, but I didn't cut the notch big enough. That was my first mistake. Then on my second problem with it was I realized I don't have a sentiment inside when I pull the slider up, but I thought I'll get to that in a little minute. Now you can see the piece that I have here, and that's one of the cutter parts, the black and white heart on the blue background with the gold foil. And I've also taken another strip of the paper. So these 2 pieces put together work out at 4.25 by 4.25, and I've backed them onto a piece of the cream card, the same as the card base that I've used. I'm going to take the rest of my net, and I made a bow out of it, and I fanned it all out so it looks really nice and full. Now here's the second mistake. I've decided to stamp a sentiment, I love you to the moon and back, but instead of just using my Memento ink, I decided I was going to gold emboss it. And with doing that, the heat has actually warped it. So what I'm going to do, and you don't see, is I'm going to put it through my Gemini. And that way I've just used the plates with it, so it'll straighten it out, but it made everything really tight. I want to put a sentiment on the back of this so I can write my message to whoever the card is going to. I've again embossed that in my Wow gold embossing powder, and I'm going to use my wide, I run out of the stick-it tape, so rather than refill it, I just use my wide, strong double-sided adhesive tape. I'm going to put that on the back, and hopefully this is going to help take the warp out of the card. So I've put a little piece of ribbon on the top to help with the pulling of it and some flowers to embellish it. I am happy with it, but it's a little bit stiff, so don't make these mistakes. Here's some cards for you to look at. So we're on to our 10th card, and this is a 5x7 scalloped card, and it's a white card. Now I've taken a cream layer, the black cardstock that came with that kind of shimmery on it. I've used that, and I've used this striped black and white paper. I've taken the flowery paper. This was an offcut that I'm going to use. I'm going to put this along on the left hand side of all those other mats and layers. Now I want to use the chain that came in the kit, and I'm going to adhere it onto this little flowered strip of paper. I've used my hot glue gun in order to do that. I know short of someone pulling it off, that's going to stay on. I've taken the cut apart because someone we love is in heaven. There's a little bit of heaven in our hearts. I've taken that cut apart and I've matted it on some of the cream card, and I'm going to put some 3M foam tape because I'm going to want to butt that up against the chain, so it'll be raised a little bit, but not quite as raised as what the chain is. So there's all our mats and layers ready to go. That cream piece is 4.5 by 6.5. I'm going to put a piece of the wide peel off along the edge of that to the left. Then I'm going to put down my black card, and that is 4.25 by 6.25, and then I'm going to put down this striped black and white piece of card, and that's 4 by 6. Onto that I've glued the flower piece of card with the chain on it, and I have a little peel off that's going to go on the left hand side of that. We're going to take off the release paper from our 3M foam tape and butt that up against the chain. It's up about an inch from the bottom. Now all we need to do is embellish it. I'm going to put some of the gems on the card. There's one on the top left of the sentiment piece. There's one at the bottom where the hearts in gold is. I've put 5 along the bottom, and I'm going to put some of the sequins in the bluey green color on the card as well. I've got one of the little gold hearts from the die, and I've put that above the because. Now inside I've taken some of the different scraps of paper. I've matted it on some of the cream card, and I've put some of the widest peel off and the skinniest peel off along that inside. I'm going to stick that down, and then I'm going to put a sentiment in the middle. I'm going to use the sentiment Hugs and Kisses. I've put it on one of my blocks, and I'm freehand stamping it, hoping it comes out all right. It's a very tiny bit patchy, and I've used my black memento pen to fill that in. I've taken one of the, I don't know what you call them, the little pendant pieces, and I've put that at the top right. And then down at the bottom, I've taken one of the little gold star stickers, and I've popped out all the little bits of that and stuck that to the left of the little piece inside. And here's some of the pictures of that card. So that's our 10 cards from this June 2019 kit. I hope you've liked them. I'd love to know what you think of the cards and which ones are your favorites. Thanks for watching. If you liked my video, please give it a thumbs up and hit the like button. If you're not a subscriber, I'd love for you to subscribe. And you can also follow me, Blonde Cards and Crafts, on Facebook and Instagram. All the links for the products that I can find I will put below and if you have any comments at all, I'd love to see them. So again, thanks for watching, and until next time, bye bye.